questions. Hey there, everybody. We're going to give it a minute, let some people get logged on here. All righty, here we go. We're coming on now. Good evening, everybody. We're a minute or two late getting started. Had a couple things going on I had to take care of. And the computer decided I want to do an update. So we're going to give it a few minutes. Let some people get online and get viewing this here, and then we'll get started with it.
Got a message that said the audio was repeating.
Audio's not working.
Or it's repeating. I'm not sure.
Let me,
Alright, he said it's better now.
okay. It did boom. Alrighty. I just switched over into other microphone. We'll see if that actually is working better. Who are we talking to?
Ed.
Ask him if it's let me just switch over, see if it's working, if it's still working now. Oh, Ricky just replied. Okay. Alrighty, folks. Well, let's get started here. Welcome to another edition of the Hidden Agenda. Doing candidate questionnaires, interviews, whatever you want to call it here. We've got Blake Mitchell with us this evening. He's going to take and answer some questions you guys have for him, and then we're going to take and let him take and tell you a little bit about himself and where he stands. But start it off. Tell us about yourself, Blake.
Oh, yeah. So I was born and raised here in Lexington, Tennessee. I've grown up here my entire life. I ended up going to school at the University of Memphis. Got a major in accounting. Had minors in supply chain, finance, economics, and marketing. So I know a lot about business. I've since worked for several large corporations, International Paper, done some consulting for General Motors. I've been able to see and experience a lot of different things thanks to a lot of different people being able to provide those opportunities to me. I'm very fortunate for all of them that I've been given. It's allowed me to develop a skill set that's unique, and I hope that I can use that to better serve you and to allow us to continue to strive forward and to build a better Lexington. Yeah.
Sounds good. All righty. Well, I guess we'll jump in here to the questions right off the get-go here. Now we got some people on board. All right. We're repeating a lot of questions that's been asked. It's kind of the standardized questions that people have brought forward and want to get answers to. Which political party policies do you align with?
Well, I'd say definitely more Republican than Democrat. I am fiscally conservative. I do have some the libertarian friends. I do have some of those policy leanings as well. And some things, definitely not Democrat or socialist. Far from that. I really am for people just getting the value that we are being taxed for, and I think that's probably the biggest issue I have with what's going on here.
I agree with that. Budget cuts. How are you going to decide what's the best way to make budget cuts? And will you talk to the constituents before making those cuts?
For sure. I think we have to look at the stakeholders involved. I think that's in any decision that you make. You look who it affects, who's going to pay for it, and we need to have an open and honest discussion with a lot of people so that they can either give their opinion and perspective and buy into the option, or also, like I said, maybe bring a perspective we didn't see, and that way we can make the best educated decision going forward. I'm all for making budget cuts that don't impact our services. I don't want anything where our services go downhill. But I'm also not for, allowing people to have essentially a lavish living and not providing that value back. You know, at the end of the day, if you make good money, I'm all for that. I want to make sure that we get the value that we are paying for at the end of the day.
Gotcha. Will you be more transparent than your predecessors?
Yes. I believe that it is kind of insane how things have transpired. I did not know until, like I said, started attending meetings and, like I said, listening to things that you were pointing out very much. I think that there's no reason we shouldn't be able to have budgets in a timely manner where we can get them out to the public. I don't believe there's any reason why we also couldn't have things that are coming before us to be put out to the public beforehand and allow feedback. I'm not sure how we've got to where these people just put this out there before the aldermen and they don't have an opportunity to actually speak to any of their constituents beforehand and have to make a vote. You know, a lot of this stuff is coming in either literally as they sit down at the table for the meeting that night, or from what it sounds like on Friday evening, they get it sometime, and then, you know, over the weekend, you're supposed to digest it and then also reach out to constituents or put it out there for constituents. I think there's a better way to do that. I'm not sure also why we don't have something that just automatically shares that we're in the 21st century. There's plenty of different platforms that allow you to share information and have it open to the public where they can find out information fast.
You're right, a website would be simple to do, and I mean, if this is documentation that's created, how hard would we post up on the website?
Right, or SharePoint Drive or anything like that. Yeah, agreed.
All righty. Every year there are requests for new vehicles. Some of the vehicles purchased have higher end packages instead of being work grade. You feel this is a waste of taxpayers' money, and how would you address it in the future?
Yes, I'm not for getting the most lavish packages for something that's more than likely supposed to be a work vehicle. And at the end of the day, I know how I treat work vehicles. They're not going to come home and be taken to a prom or anything like that. So at the end of the day, I think we need to make sure that, once again, we're getting the value that we're paying for. If we can have $60,000 towards one truck, or we can have $60,000 towards two trucks, we should probably have the two trucks at the end of the day, because we're more than likely using more resources to actually allocate them, versus like I said, what we're doing now, where people run around in crew cabs and, like I said, at the end of the day, Lariat package or massaging seats, whatever it may be. I don't agree with that. I don't think they need a chariot either. I don't think we should be having horse-drawn carriages. But at the same time, there's a large middle ground, and like I said, I don't know why we could be reasonable towards the low end. I also don't know why we need to get one every 2 or 3 years. For the longest time growing up, we've seen vehicles run to the ragged end. I'm not saying we should put somebody in something that may or may not run this today either. But at the end of the day, we need to make sure that we're getting the value and that we're not, like I said, overstressing our citizens and making them pay, like I said, exorbitant tax rates or utility rates in order for, like I said, a select few of our citizens, essentially, assuming they even live here in the city, to drive nice vehicles.
Agreed. There's been talk about wasteful spending regarding government vehicles, including unnecessary wear and tear and fuel costs. There's also been complaints about city employees get vehicles to drive home every night. Many seen at businesses and after hours and weekends. Do you think that's an issue that needs to be addressed?
I guess yes and no. So what I will say is for emergency vehicles, like I said, people that are doing our utility service, emergencies, on call, after hours, things like that, by all means, they ought to be able to take them home and use them. People that are, just going to and from the office every single day, and that's all they do pretty much is go to and from the office. When I say to and from, like they're going from their house to the office, and they're going from the office to their house. You should need a vehicle that's paid for by taxpayers. We're paying for gas, insurance, the whole nine. That's a lot of money. At the end of the day, if we can use it in a sense where people are smart about it and people can go and facilitate their jobs or provide the services faster by being able to take it home and go straight to work where they're working at a project or something, that's fine. I don't think, though, people running around on the weekend doing whatever they want out of it is the best look for us, nor is it a good expense for us to incur. It's all about providing value. I mean, that's the way I look at it. How far can we make this $100 go? And when I say $100 go, what $100 worth of value can we get out of it, or can we get more value out of it? But we don't need to take $100 and throw it out the window.
I'm getting some issues with the microphone here. Can anybody chime in right quick and let me know if we've, if the audio's gotten any better? I'm looking at it right now,
Maybe not some of those.
we're on the camera. Let me see if I can any updates on that there.
Any better?
It doesn't appear to be any better. Let me, give me just 1 second here. Sorry we're having technical difficulties. Dun, 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 dun. Let's try this here. Tell me if that's gotten any better.
No, still not good.
Still having trouble. All righty.
Still
Everything.
Microphone.
That's what I needed right there. All right, you guys hear this any better? I'm starting my, I'm starting to see, I can turn my volume up on the microphone internally.
Is that better?
How about now?
A lot of white noise.
Yeah.
I wonder if they're hearing the fan or something.
I wouldn't think so. I mean, it's, okay, hold on just a second here. Is that any better? Sorry about this, folks. My computer decided to do an update and it is causing me all kind of issues. With the switch cams, see if that makes it, switch microphones. Still the same thing. How about now? Are we getting anything better here? Tell you what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna can
Yeah, you hear it a lot more.
you know, that's bad. It doesn't call back yet. I'm actually back on the. Okay.
Just I'm not sure.
All righty. We got somebody tell us it's sounding good now, so. Okay, all right, I've got a lot of people saying it's sounding good, so we're gonna keep on going with it here. All righty, sorry about that there. And my apologies if you finish answering your question on that there. I understand with the vehicles, it's pretty much based on what our needs are.
Well, yeah, what our needs are, and like I said, not impeding service or allowing people to service as fast as we can, but at the end of the day, if you're coming to and from the office, from home to the office, from the office to home, you don't need a vehicle. And at the end of the day too, if you're gonna take, and for instance, let's say we have 5 people in the office, and every once in a while they use a vehicle to and go and from projects or sites or whatever, we should have 1 or 2 vehicles for that office that they can use, not all 5 people get a vehicle to go home in. I mean, I think there's obviously cost sharing initiatives and things we can do there to make it more feasible for taxpayers, and then also allow them to, not put wear and tear on their own vehicles driving to and from functions if that's what's needed. But at the end of the day, like I said, if they're going to work and from work and they're stopping at a grocery store or something, I don't think that's a big deal. I have a problem with it, like I said, if you're taking and burning up the town on the weekend, and you're not actually doing any work, you're just going, doing your traditional grocery shopping and, checking out the sights of town or whatever it may be. We're not gonna do wasteful spending.
Okay. All righty.
Common sense a little bit, and I think goes a long ways.
Gotcha. All righty. This one here, I got to see if I can surmise this here. You were actually at the meeting where it was brought up about last year, Lexington Utilities, the director of the utility department and the chief financial officer said that there was, you weren't at the budget meeting, but told the board that there was ample money to give raises last year.
Right.
And then this year, which you were at the meeting, they stated that, this is when whatever new organization is the state overseeing utility departments, stated that we were net negative last year. And come to find out that when the director, the utilities director, and the CFO, or city recorder is what I call it, last year when they gave that information out, they actually had that paperwork from the state saying that they were net negative, but yet they told the board that they were actually positive and could afford to give a raise. When that happened, Alderman Tim Rose questioned the department head probably 3 or 4 times, but the department head deflected the question and never answered. With that information, do you feel the department head should be reprimanded for providing false information and for failing to answer questions Alderman posed?
Unfortunately, yes, I do in that instant. I'm big on performance-based management. At the end of the day, I want to be very clear that, like, here's what I expect of you. And if you fall short of those expectations, I also want to be clear as to what the repercussions would be. And so, yes, I think 100% that you should be held responsible, and I think you should want to hold yourself responsible for either glaringly missing something that was, I guess, pretty obvious. I mean, if we're getting a letter from the state, we're in pretty bad shape, like I said. Or, like I said, willingly went out there and lied to us. But depending on, like I said, if he wants to come forward and answer that in one way or another, I guess depending on what actions we would have to take as a board. At the end of the day, if you're going to willingly mislead and guide, not guide, but mislead us in our guidance of you, I don't think that's the person we need leading our organizations. At the end of the day, we're I say we. The board is responsible for allocating money and budgeting, based on the proposals provided for by them. If we can't have faith and confidence in what you're providing to us, that gives great distrust, and also makes it more difficult for us to allocate money to you in the future. And that's going to cause problems with us actually providing the best service to our citizens. And so I think that if you can't come forward and be truthful, and also, like I said, held accountable to wrongdoing, we're not going anywhere at the end of the day.
Okay.
Like I said, and I hope you don't mean to take that the wrong way. I said I've always tried to be transparent, and like I said, at the end of the day, try to give someone the benefit of the doubt. But if you want to prove that I was wrong, or like I said, prove that you're either incompetent or something like that, we'd have to address that, I think, sooner rather than later.
This year, the employees got another raise, which over the last 4 years, they've had a cumulative total raise of 23%. You know any other employers paying that kind of raises in a 4-year period?
Not across the board. I can say that for sure. I'm all for someone receiving a raise when their performance deserves it. When they take on more responsibility, when they go out and get a certification or a permit that allows us to continue to operate or do what we do, or to provide a better service, or if they, like I said, take initiative of their own, and like I said, notice something, hey, we need to fix this, and go out there and do it instead of playing just maybe playing cornhole or whatever it is back at the base. I'm all for rewarding those people that take care of us and provide good service to us. I think across the board raises, though, has been detrimental to us from not only a financial perspective, but also morale perspective. I think there's a lot of people that are at our utility departments that, kind of question how some people get paid what they are, or why they got a raise. And, hey, I've been here for 20 years and, don't even make as much as somebody that recently hired on. And I think that's causing some issues within there. At the end of the day, though, I think you need to be paid based on the value that you provide, though. And, that's somewhat hard for some people to bite down at you, but I think if you explain it to them, and once you give clear objectives, it's hard for people to be mad. I think the problem with right now is people don't understand or don't have any objectives or any type of performance metrics to look back at and say whether or not they've done good or bad. You just come in, you've done good or you've done bad, and like I said, have no idea why. And that's not right.
All right. Why are percentage raises being promoted and used when it truly only benefits the top earning positions, and the guys at the bottom don't get an equal shake, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe because it's the easiest thing to do. I don't know why. I mean, you could do a flat rate at the same time. It'd be almost the same thing. It's, $3,000 or whatever. That's a good raise for people on the bottom end. It's still a decent raise or a decent raise for everybody on the top end too. At the end of the day, though, right now what we have going on, it is by and large benefiting the top end holders way more so than the bottom, and it's causing a lot of stress on our financial ability to fund this. People need to understand that it's not just their salary, it's their benefits package that goes up with it, it's their retirement package, so we have to, if they're on a pension, we have to fund it, and it has to go up because, at the end of the day, what they're gonna get paid out of that pension is based on their last 3 years or 3 pay raises or whatever. And so, at the end of the day, if that continues to go up and up and up, and we have to keep our cash reserve matching what they're gonna be paid out, that puts us in a pretty hard financial position to keep up with. And so, I think people need to be paid, like I said, what value they're bringing forward to us.
And you're right, and I think a lot of us, a lot of people miss the boat on the fact that when a pay raise goes out, it's not just the dollar amount that's added to their check. It's what is the term? It was actually used in the OPEX, the other employee benefits that we don't always consider, and that's one of the problems that was stated with utilities, whatever that survey thing that we spent money to have done, stating about our other benefits and what it's hurting us. The state said the same thing. We've got problems with the cost of our other benefits.
No.
I think a lot of people miss that in the understanding. Somebody may make a $2 an hour raise, but in all actuality, it's probably closer to $4 an hour when you pay the additional benefits and stuff to it. Well, maybe $3.50. So it's a lot more added in there that we don't see.
Right. Well, and that goes down to too is, I guess what are we going to consider other benefits too? For instance, if you're taking home a vehicle every day and driving it to and from work, and you're not paying for the gas or the maintenance and upkeep, that adds up. And like I said, once again, we can't necessarily right now directly align it to their salary and everything, but it's essentially an employee benefit.
Right.
The way that at least it's being treated right now by a lot of utility workers, it seems like, or public work.
How do you view the city's money management in the last 5 years?
Not grand. It's not bad in some aspects. I think that when we had an audit that we lost, or had a massive amount of corrections that needed done, that was obviously pretty poor management. I don't know how in the world we had an audit where we had, what was it, $20 million that was misappropriated or not correctly accounted for.
I remember hearing 16, and of course, we never really got the whole truth of the matter. I do remember the auditor stated that in the general fund, almost half of the money was not properly accounted for within the general fund. So that's sitting around, I'm guessing probably $5 million, give or take. So if there's an accounting with the 16 and the 5, I could see it being 20.
Right. So I definitely think that's an issue. Running a business, I think you always should know where your money is and also understand your accounts from not only the balance sheet perspective, but from an income perspective, income statement, and then also cash flows. A lot of people want to get hung up on the first two, but if you don't have the cash flow actually coming in and out, that's a real big problem. And at the end of the day, right now, we need to make sure that we're setting ourselves up for success in the future. And I think right now we're short-sighted in some of those aspects, and that's why when we, for instance, when we got this COVID money and everybody was flush with funds, and it was, everybody gets rained on with new pay raises and salaries, and everybody gets a new truck and everything else. We spent a lot of money fast, and now trying to keep up with that spend is more difficult when it's not just freely flowing in from the government. So I think we need to make sure that our budget is well known and that we operate within it, because at the end of the day, there are some things that are somewhat scary infrastructure-wise that could be, massive expenditures in short time. And so I want to make sure that we're able to take on those or do what we can in short order to try to qualify for some type of grant or funding from either the federal or state government. I think there's a lot of things out there that they can do to help us, and I don't know why they don't take more advantage of things like that.
Do you think property tax and utility rate increases have been excessive in the past few years?
So once again, yes and no. And the reason why I'll say no somewhat is looking at utility rates from other places. That being said, though, the way that we jump them up on people is not right. It has been too expensive. Property rates going up. Some of that was more of a valuation by the state. When it came in and revalued everything, we do that every, I believe it's 6 years. That caused the assessed value to go up. Then we went and did an equalization to where the rate was reflected back to where we're supposed to be generating essentially the same revenue from those taxes. What ended up happening was, by and large, not property owners, people that have structures, homes, things like that, ended up bearing more of the tax burden than large property owners or property owners just in general that don't have structures on them. I don't think that is right. I don't think we can do much more to continue to increase it, or it's going to start driving people out of the city. I think if you look at what happened in Henry, Tennessee, when they came in and we're going to have the greatest water and department and all this, and they installed it all, and they jumped everybody's rates, it almost killed the town. There's not any industry left because they can't afford the rates, they're not going to pay the rates, and at the end of the day, it's essentially a dying town at this point in time. I don't want that to become Lexington. I want to make sure that we continue to thrive and are able to provide homes that everybody can afford and live in. Not only from a purchasing perspective, but also from a maintenance perspective of you got to pay utilities and you got to pay property taxes. It's an unfortunate evil. It is also one of the main ways that we pay for a lot of the services that we all think is necessary too. Whether it be police, fire, ambulance service, you name it. And so.
All right. It's got a question sent in through a messenger.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of a Lexington utility truck pulling up to the drive-through at the liquor store?
Yeah, that's probably not the best look. I don't think that's a good idea, and I don't think that's what we're going for. Like I said, I'm fine with people, like I said, stopping by, Walmart on the way home. Don't think it's necessarily probably the best look for us to be grabbing liquor out of the window in a Lexington Utilities truck. And I don't think if you work for any commercial employer, they would allow that either. So, like I said, I try to look at it, and from that perspective as well. If you went out there in the workforce with somebody that employed you, want to do that? Probably not. They probably don't want you to do that either. If you were employing somebody, would you want somebody pulling up and grabbing stuff out of that and then having an accident or whatever, and then it looks like they've been? Probably not. So go home, grab your truck, go back to the liquor store.
Yeah, that's.
Common sense goes a long way.
Yes,
Unfortunately, it's a fleeting thing.
You're right about that. Let's get back in here, but next question, where we were at here. All righty. Last year, during the budget cycle, the mayor asked for a 74-cent property tax increase.
Mm-hmm.
But it was settled for 17 cents, is what it ended up being after they passed 4-3, which was about $1.5 million short based on the value of the penny last year. Yet this year he didn't ask for any property tax. Why do you think he did that? Or didn't? I guess it's that way.
I would speculating because it's just an opinion. But if I had to guess, I would say it's timing. And when I say timing, I would say the timing in relation to the election that he's now running for. And I would say that would probably be the only reason. I'm also not sure where the additional funding went, seeing as it sounds like we have increased the position from last year based on the other things that we've done, the increase in property tax rates and utility rates. And so I'm not real sure where this $1.5 million would have went to. And I think that's where a lot of people have problems with things is, we're not seeing where the money goes, or we're not seeing the actual value provided or there for us once it's taken from us.
No.
And that's the issue.
Yeah, and I certainly, that's, and that would have been, all money would have gone into the general fund,
No.
not into any of the enterprise accounts like utilities, LES, or I know part of public works, solid waste is driven by rates.
Right.
So yeah, that's, and we still had revenue left over enough to give pay raises.
That's right.
Good stuff. Yeah, we didn't need $1.5 million, obviously. What is your perception of how local elected officials treat the people they represent?
I think even from elected positions to people that work for the city, public works, I think that people need to realize that they're a public servant, that you're there to serve the people. People are going to be mad at you, people are going to be frustrated. As much as you can, try to just brush some of that off, that frustration off, and just tell them we're doing everything we can to help you and talk to people. I think that's the biggest problem is people come out upset and yelling because they don't feel like they're actually being heard. They voice their grievances, and like I said, nothing changes or anything like that. Nobody explains anything to them. And I think if you sit there and can break it down to someone and articulate, hey, this is why this hasn't happened, or hey, this is what we're doing for this, I think a lot of people will be more understanding. And so that's why I want to make sure that if I'm elected to office, everyone feels as though they can come up and bring their issues to us, and that we're going to hear your issues and discuss them, and at the end of the day, try to help you with them if we can. That pretty much what brought me to running was the fact that it frustrated me to no end out there trying to help Mason Roads Motor Company, and people at the city of Lexington really didn't know anything, or just kind of turning their backs, and T-Dot was kind of the same way, didn't really know anything. And this is a meeting that we had scheduled for months in advance. That frustrates me. I want people that are there to back you and that are going to be willing to go fight for you when we have, like I said, already agreed with it. We've approved your plans and everything. I think we need to stand behind that. And I think people will be more willing to come here and invest their time, their money, and like I said, build things here if they feel as though we're listening to them and that we're standing behind them and not just, like I said, turning our backs on them. So that's fun.
City streets, roads, seem to have some issues with them.
Say less.
Yeah. If you were elected, what would you do to try to get the roads repaired?
This road list that we've been hearing about on Facebook, I said, that's a wonderful idea. I'm not sure why we don't have some type of chart or schedule that lays them out, that, where people can see, all the constituents, and that, the alderman can see, and then have some type of scales on it. Like I said, I'm pretty numbers driven, data driven, and so at the end of the day, I like seeing things put into a chart where I can look at it and see, for instance, for roads, how many people served by it, is it a through street, when was the last time it was paved, is it 10, 15, 20 plus years ago, and then, maybe a rating on the condition of it too. Is it completely falling apart, deteriorated, and we've got to do a complete removal and repave? Is it something that we can pave over the top of? At the end of the day, have some type of information out there so that we can make an educated decision on which ones we want to pave. And I think we need to focus on the ones that are main thoroughfares where everybody is using. I'm not saying that, like I said, if you have 5 houses on your street, that you shouldn't have a nice street either. And I'm not saying we should let it go to crap. I think, though, that the ones that everyone uses day in and day out, that, like I said, they're beating cars to death right now, we need to focus on fixing those. And at the end of the day, go into maybe the other ones that may be up for schedule, like based on a year for paving, but that aren't in bad shape, that we postpone those. Like I said, it has to be an active schedule that you manage. It can't just be something that you set and forget and let it go. You have to be active within it, and that's what I'm not seeing here right now. Not really sure why.
All righty.
And TDOT being the next one, like I said, I'm not sure. Does anybody know if we really have a maintenance agreement, don't have a maintenance agreement? Like I said, they told me they signed back up for it. I'm like, well, where are we spending the money? We're not doing any maintenance. If we're not in it, then why aren't we out here harping on TDOT or harping on the state to come in here and fix their things and maintain their stuff? At the end of the day, though, that's supposed to be a cost-sharing agreement, essentially. The main thoroughfares through town, 22 and 412, yes, they're state roads, but that is something that we all use daily.
Right. I'm good to try something here. Sorry, I'm still getting some complaints on it. We're going to try something again here with
Not better?
all right, let me see here. My apologies. trying to get these microphone issues resolved. I don't know what is going on with this here. But for some odd reason, we've got, well, my laptop must have updated it.
I love technology.
Yeah, that's
And I'm just saying, I'm glad you got a microphone. That's a lot better than what we're looking through, listening through at the meetings for the most part.
yeah, it's, I've been trying to upgrade equipment some, but it's not a,
You don't have any taxpayer dollars to spend.
I don't have taxpayers' money. That's
I'm just messing, guys. It's not in this.
okay, I've got that set correctly. Everything seems to be.
That's your speakers.
Yeah,
It says static, very hard to hear.
I'm wondering if this is, let me come back up here.
Normally people are telling me to be quiet. They're not too
Is
loud.
this getting any better? My apologies, we may end up having to take and come back and go over this again.
Hey, if we have to, we have to.
Alrighty, well, my apologies, we're still having some technical difficulties with this here. We got a couple more questions we're gonna ask Blake, and then what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna, because of these problems here, we're gonna allow him to come back on. Cause we got some people saying they can hear just fine, and some people saying they can't. And I'm, and I can see it, I mean, sometimes my phone right now is not showing any, it's not giving me much of nothing.
I'm not sure why that is. We're not
No,
2 feet away from it.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think
And
we've
it's,
been a lot further.
the microphone is showing this, I'm actually picking up here just fine. Let me go back to, I'm gonna try the other one. We got 3 microphones here. To be sure, one of them will work. Let me see here, input device, let's try. We'll try the ones, because we got dual mics up there on the camera itself. Yeah, if y'all can let me know if we're getting any better here or not.
So is that better, guys, or staticky, but I can hear? Turn volume all the way up on my phone.
And that's, like I said, I don't know what happened here, but we're gonna take and, like I said, we'll definitely bring Blake back on, but I'm gonna finish up a couple more questions, and,
Somebody has to have a fan running.
no, that's the thing is, the air conditioning itself is back over there, but it's not shouldn't be picking that up, but I've got the microphone. I had this mic, well, that mic there, both microphones are sitting up in the front facing us. All right, let's get back to questions here. Hope subdivision, housing. You know, we've heard talk a lot about regulations. We've heard talk about a lot of the issues with, and this kind of goes into the county too, about inspections, permits, whatever. Pope's a good example of, we saw houses that went through a permitting process. Documentation had to be out there. A lot of stuff had to be involved. And once it got involved, we found out we ended up having crumbling foundations. Where do you feel that we have issues with our building inspections in the city? And if so, are we also hamstringing ourselves as far as future development with all the regulations we have?
Yes, for sure. So, regulations are kind of a two-way street. You know, they can be good at preserving property value. They can also be harmful in that they, like you said, prevent development. It's got to be something that we do so mindfully, so that we can continue to grow Lexington and have affordable housing. You know, one of the main things I think that I've seen is, you know, we want to have large yards. They're nice. You know, I should say there's a lot of people that want to have large yards. There's also people that want to have smaller yards. And so if we can get into shorter setbacks and smaller lots, that can greatly reduce development costs. You know, for instance, if on a mile stretch of road you can put 20 homes, or on a mile stretch of road you can put 200 homes, there's a big difference in what you can take and get for your money. You know, that being said, that's something that the voters would have to vote on and let us know if that's something that they're, I think, willing to agree to. I do think that, like I said, in some areas of town and stuff like that, townhomes can be a very real option to have some affordable housing for people. And then, like I said, also not eat up a bunch of farm ground around here as well. I think that's one of the main issues that, you know, a lot of the states facing too, is that, you know, we're having a lot of farm ground that's split up, divided very fast. And at the end of the day, once it gets a house built on it and stuff like that, you know, it's not coming back into a farm. And we are an agricultural state. It is what it is, and at the end of the day, it feeds us and it provides a lot of families a lot of income. And at the end of the day, we need those very things. Here in the city, I think if we don't have some development, though, you know, we're quickly seeing that we don't have affordable housing for most people. You know, there's very few and far between houses, you know, under $250,000. Like that just, it is where it's at right now. How can we go about doing that, though? You know, I think we need to bring in developers and talk to them and see if there's some ways that we can maybe make some compromises on doing some infrastructure improvements. You know, that's one thing we'll talk to some of the candidates about, is what can we do to help them while also not spending us into oblivion. We need to make sure that we have either strategic partners that can come in and help us, that are going to be here for us and not just try to wreck us over the cold. And that's easier said than done nowadays, I'll be honest. But I think that is, if we don't have a good building inspection program, we lose a lot of confidence in investors. We lose a lot of confidence in banks, for instance. You know, if they're going out and do appraisals on houses, well, who built the house? You got questions on that? You know, I'm not sure what it's like, and I don't want to have that. I don't want to have price instability, or where we have reluctancy to loan, or things like that. I want people to be able to come in and have good faith and confidence in the home that they're buying is, you know, going to be here in 100 years, and that they're going to have a value in it, not something that's going to be worthless because it's the end. And so at the end of the day, if we need to bring in a new building inspector to ensure that's what we'll do. At the end of the day, we can't have what we have happen. People make mistakes, things go wrong. I'm not saying that. Once again, it comes down to, though, as soon as you recognize something is wrong and it's a serious public safety hazard, something needs to be done immediately to address it, so that it's, one, warning people that we're not going to have somebody injured by it, and two, that corrections need to be taken. And whether that's bringing in a structural engineer and coming in and fixing things, if it's a foundational issue, or, you know, coming in and them saying that we can't fix this and it needs to be tore down, and that's what we do. At the end of the day, though, we can't have falling, dilapidated structures in the city, especially new ones. That does no good for us.
All righty. All right, well, I'm going to take in, like I said, because of our technical difficulties here, we're going to have to figure out some issues. What I'm going to do is we're going to take and invite Blake to come back on. We'll look at the schedule and get him back in here. And after we can get our problem fixed out, I've got a friend of mine that's supposed to help me start working on
Just testing.
yeah, we're going to actually add some better equipment and so forth. We're
We're going Main Street now, huh?
yeah, well, you know,
Put a name to it?
Yeah, got a name to it. We're trying. I think if we can make the experience better, and I'm hoping to get to the point where we can get more people coming in. You know, I'd love for citizens to come here. I'd love for anybody in the government, especially those who question the information that we put out, to please come up here and sit down and give the people the truth. If I'm not giving them factual information, because I get accused of this quite often, then please, by all means, come have a seat up here and tell us the truth. You know, I get a lot of comments on stuff like that. It's like, yeah, I don't see these people's faces in the meetings.
Yeah.
I don't see them attending and listening to the same thing, but yet they seem to know a lot more than what I do from attending these meetings and listening.
Right. And also having a great deal of people that will come to you and share information. And like I said, you for the most part willingly share with everyone else to keep everybody informed. Yeah, I appreciate everything that you do. Like I said, probably wouldn't be here had it not been for you. Like I said, it blows my mind. Like I said, that we don't know more about what transpired in that city.
Amen to that, and I think that's one of the biggest problems that we face. Anyway, I'm going to turn this here over to Blake for a little bit and let him give you his sales pitch on why you should vote for him, and make him the next alderman for position 6.
Well, I will never ask for your vote or for someone else's. I'll ask for your consideration in this campaign. And like I said, if you think that after you think through it and deliberate on it, that I'm a good candidate, I would greatly appreciate your votes. At the end of the day, I just want to come here and be able to provide a voice to you. I want to make sure that you're heard. I want to make sure that every dollar that we spend is accounted for, that we get the things that we have been pitched. I think for far too long we have been provided a lot of lip service, and we have not obtained the things that we've been told we were going to receive. I want to make sure that we obtain that. I have a lot of experience, like I said, dealing with corporations and dealing with large losses in building consulting, and so I have experienced a lot of different things. I know about maintaining assets. I know about budgeting. I understand how to put together different types of financial statements, and I want to make sure that we provide information to you in a manner that you can understand, in a way that you receive it that is one, timely, and two, once again, in a manner that you can actually work with it. I'm a big proponent of Excel. I'm not sure why we're not given more of the data in a way that we can arrange it and manipulate it. I think that's, once again, in the 21st century ways that we can provide meaningful, detailed, granular information to people. And like I said, they can come forward with any, once again, opinions, perspectives, things like that, so where we can have an honest and candid conversation. Again, this is your city. This is our city. We're all here together, and I want to make sure that our voice is heard and that our dollars are accounted for. And I believe I have a skill set to do that, and then I also have the ability to negotiate with others that we desperately need right now. I don't think we're getting the best benefits, or are we getting our actual the fair share of the bargain. I think a lot of times people are kind of raking us over the coals. I also think that a lot of times, like I said, we'll propose things that sound fantastic and luxurious, and they are far from it when it actually comes out. So I want to make sure that, like I said, we get the things that we are told we're going to obtain, and that we hold people accountable when we don't obtain those things. Accountability is huge. I'm not saying I'm always right, and if I am wrong, I will do my best to come on and admit that and articulate the very reason why I was wrong. Being wrong sucks sometimes, but at the end of the day, if you are going to be wrong at points in times, and it's better to just go on ahead and admit those failures and learn from them and move on. And I want to make sure that, like I said, we can continue to move Lexington forward. And so one of the main things that I'd like to focus on is making sure that our services are up to par, that we continue to provide fantastic service, that we take care of the people that take care of us, and that we also maintain our infrastructure so that we can all continue to rely on it every day. I think right now, driving around, our roads are terrible. Our stormwater is even worse. Anytime it rains here, you can't hardly drive on these streets. And it's continuing to get worse. And so I want to focus on these issues and continue to work towards providing, once again, affordable housing for people. And so we need to work towards that goal. And I think we can do that if we have a strong board and a good mayor on board, and one that can, once again, propose our city to others to influence manufacturing to come back. We're at a very pivotal point in time. If we do not bring back large commercial, industrial, either corporations, individual sole prop, whatever it may be, into our factories and continue to keep them operating, we're going to face very hard times. They're a major backbone in the city of Lexington, and if we can't continue to maintain those and we end up the city taking over ownership of them, it's not going to be good. We've seen before that we're the city is not the best at managing large assets, and that could end up being a huge liability for us. So we need to go out and advocate for the city of Lexington to bring in these large industrial manufacturers and facilities so that we can have jobs for everyone, and that we continue to grow. So that's my pitch. If you like it, if you disagree with it, please reach out. If you have any comments, concerns, like I said, my cell phone number's out there. I've got an email, Mitchell for Alderman at outlook.com. And so if you need me, please reach out. And like I said, I'll do everything I can to represent you and let your voice be heard. James, I appreciate you.
All righty, brother. Well, I'm gonna get this thing shut down, and I'm gonna get back to some troubleshooting with it.
Uh-oh.
Figure out what the heck's going on with this thing here.
Gotta love technology, brother.
Yeah, it is, I'll tell you right now. Especially when I'm old and I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Thank you guys for tuning in. Like I said, we'll take and we'll get Blake back in here once we got our audio issues fixed. We do have Patrick Cherry coming on Thursday night, so we will do everything to make sure that it is corrected before that podcast, and we'll schedule in with Blake, and I'll keep you guys updated on that there. Thank you for watching, tuning in, and we'll catch you guys next time on the End of the Agenda.
Thanks, sir.